So this is the Studio Underd0g 03 series Salmon, and this is the Smoked Salmon Special Edition, and these are without a doubt my new favorite Studio Underd0g models. If you're new here, my name is Brittany, and this channel is all about watches, cheap watches, expensive watches, whatever I can get my grubby little hands on. Fun little piece of Brit Pierce channel lore back in the early days when I was first starting out. The first brand that ever wanted to work with me and send me watches to review was Studio Underd0g. And they've been kind enough to continue to send press pieces my way, which is what these two lovely pieces of salmon are. So thank you so much to the team over there. I'm making this video a little bit later than I wanted to make it. These were released a few months ago, back in September, but I was pretty fresh off having a baby, which did interfere with my schedule. But here's everything you need to know about the Studio Underd0g salmon. Now, I almost always start my videos talking about the specifications, but with Studio Underd0g, you need to start with the design for reasons that seem obvious to me. So there are two watches in the 03 series, the more traditional looking Studio Underd0g with the dial text, logo, and indices. And we have the Smoked Salmon Special Edition with a more clean aesthetic, no dial text, no logo, just the pure functional chronograph information. Both watches are mono pushers, so the chronograph functions are operated through only one pusher found at 3 o'clock, rather than how modern watch lovers are used to seeing chronographs, which is with two pushers. But we'll talk more on that later. Back on design, these are meant to look like the shimmering skin of salmon, and honestly, they nailed it. It's almost eerie how similar these look to actual fish skin. The texture, even the way the color graduates from dark to light, and the specific shade of salmon they selected. I don't know for sure, but I feel like they must have spent so much time picking out the colors that they used for these, because they are just exactly right. They are the perfect shade of salmon. They nailed it. I personally prefer the special edition ever so slightly, just because without the dial writing, you can really take in the texture that little bit more. And I almost always prefer a more clean dial layout. But hey, that's just me. I'd also be very happy with the not smoked edition. Something I massively respect about Studio Underd0g is how quickly they've built up a pretty strong, cohesive, and recognizable design language in a relatively short amount of time. I would describe their watches as equal parts fun, different, and irreverent, while also being incredibly functional and well built. Which isn't an easy line to walk, but I think Studio Underd0g makes it look easy, but it's not. Another brand that I think walks this line very well is Moser, so it isn't surprising that these two brands have teamed up before. What I'm trying to say with way too many words is, I freaking love the design of these. It is so them, making something different and offbeat that is also very functional, and that's what we are going to talk about in this next section. Now, looking at the specifications, these both have a 38.5mm case diameter, a thickness of 13.6mm, and a lug-to-lug of 44.5mm. On the wrist, these are an absolute delight to wear. So here it is on my 5.5-inch wrist and my husband's 7-inch wrist. With the small wrist-friendly 44.5mm lug-to-lug, I think we can both rock it. It has enough wrist presence for a larger wrist, but still small enough for me to wear and feel pretty comfortable in. I do think the proportions look slightly better on him, as per, but whatever. That's not going to ruin how much I love this on wrist. One of the concerns I had with the 03 series was the thickness. 13.6mm is beefy. But this measurement is taken including the domed sapphire. It doesn't feel notably thick on the wrist. Going back to the specifications, these salmons have a stainless steel case material, 50 meters of water resistance, and powered by the Sellita SW510M movement, but more on that later. One of the most interesting things is that these are mono pushers rather than two pusher chronographs like we're used to seeing. A very them choice, which I love. It makes an already interesting different watch that little bit more interesting and different. So to engage the chronograph, you push the 3 o'clock pusher once, then to stop, push it again, and to reset, push a third time. Now, with a mono pusher, you lose the ability to pause your chronograph timings. You can only stop and reset. But honestly, it doesn't matter. For 99% of people, 99% of the time, this is going to be fine. Moving on to the strap. It is absolutely lovely, a very soft leather that wraps nicely to the wrist. Studio Underdog have once again teamed up with the strap tailor who made these. Lovely taper from 20 millimeters down to 16 millimeters, quick release spring bars, très bon. Now, taking a closer look at the movement, this is powered by the hand-winding Sellita SW510M. This has 63 hours of power reserve, and a Côte de Genève finishing exclusively made for Studio Underdog, which is pretty cool. I'm a snob, so I like different finishings. I like it, just put a little decoration into it, okay? Just make it a little bit funky. Watches are already an unnecessary item, so just put a little bit of flair on it. It's like houses with gargoyles. People don't put unnecessary decoration into things anymore, and I wish they did. Now, if you want to buy one of these, you can't, and they're expensive. So, that's me being facetious. Although they aren't available to purchase right now, they will be soon. So according to their website, these will be available again in Q1 of 2025, which is finance speak for between January and March. Looking at the price, these are noticeably more expensive in the Studio Underdog catalog, retailing for £1,700. Considering the Watermelon and the 01 series retail for £550, the 02 series for £800, the price of these is high, but I don't think it's unfounded. For one, you're getting a very interesting and niche complication, which means it's going to come with an interesting and niche case and movement requirements. For two, the movement has the Côte de Genève finished bridge, and it is far more accurate than the 01 series movements, with this having an accuracy of plus 5 seconds a day. I do see why some would be put off by the price, but I don't think it is unfounded. This section isn't going to have any flow to it. It is going to be chaos. This is things from my script that I couldn't quite fit in anywhere. They didn't make sense in any section, so I kept cutting it out and then trying to paste in different sections, but it didn't work. But I still feel like these things need to be said. So I said, and I quote, "This whole launch feels so Studio Underdog. It's like a dad joke that went too far, but then turned into something awesome. It feels like Richard was like, LOL, you know how everyone loves salmon dial watches? We should make a salmon watch, but a literal one, so you could say, you know how you like salmon watches?" I don't have proof this conversation happened. This is just what I imagine happened. I wrote this in a script and thought it would work somewhere. I kinda love the collaborations happening between Studio Underdog and Moser at the moment. They feel like kindred spirits in the watch industry, and it makes sense for them to be bouncing off each other. So when I first saw the smoked salmon, it of course reminded me of the special edition Passion Project Mono Pusher, but I actually like this more than the Passion Project, which I didn't think possible. These have 50 meters of water resistance, which is fitting because salmon have been found at depths of 120 feet or about 35.5 meters. So these are tested to deeper depths than an actual salmon would swim. I'm going to stop talking now. This is everything you need to know about the 03 series salmon mono pushers from Studio Underdog. I love these. Once again, I feel like the team over at Studio Underdog keeps smashing it out of the park. If you like these too, Q1, keep your eyes out. These are coming back. As always, I'd love to know all your thoughts in those comments down below. And now, Pope tier patrons, get their names up and let's thank them.